Sure, sure, sure.
At 3 we will start off. Just waiting for a minute or two for the others to join.
Sure, sir.
So what I can see, almost 38 of us are on board. Again, a humble request from HRDC. Please mark your attendance with the Google Form link that has already been shared with you through email and also pasted in the chat box. So, Pranav sir, welcome Dr. Pranav Kumar Prabhakar, the eminent resource person of the day, and good afternoon, dear esteemed faculty and students. We are here with a very, very relevant topic, and I think with the COVID-19 threatening to come back again in 21, so this is a very, very valid topic that we are going to interact today. FDP on COVID-19 vaccines and its pharmacoeconomics. There are lots of myths around the vaccines that are being circulated around. So today we have an expert with us, Dr. Pranav. Though he's one of us, but he's also an ardent researcher, very committed learner, and also a thorough gentleman. Lives up to his commitments. I remember working with him with one of our earlier online interactions with one of the prominent diabetician of India, in fact internationally renowned, so he was responsible for bringing him on board. And we also talked about, those were the early days of COVID, so we talked about that at that point of time, and Dr. Pranav Kumar Prabhakar was instrumental in bringing. So Dr. Pranav, we would like you to take over and shed the myths and build our confidence in the COVID vaccine so that we are able to meet this challenge which is threatening us all again. So over to you, Dr. Pranav. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So today we are going to talk about, it's not exactly talk because I am one of the faculty among you. So we can talk it in both ways. Wherever you are having any issue, you can stop me, you can talk me, you can ask me. So we are just going to talk about the COVID vaccines, what are the different strategy we are having and what are the different types of vaccine we are having, and then we will talk something about the economic related to this COVID. So this COVID, or you can call it coronavirus, has given us a mixed kind of experience. Mixed kind of experience means we have also lost number of things. We have number of things we have missed it, and again we have got number of experiences. We have got it. Number of things we have learned it. So we have both type of experiences. We have got it in this COVID situations. So for today's talk, whatever we are going to talk today, it will cover prevalences. Then some of the structural features of the coronavirus, because on the basis of those structural features only we are going to design the vaccines. And then we'll talk about the different types of COVID-19 vaccines, comparison of the indigenous vaccines, Indian vaccines, and then some of the economic portions. So first, what is coronavirus? If we'll see the coronavirus, it is not the new virus. Roughly the first coronavirus has been discovered in 1960s, and that was for the upper respiratory tract infections. After that one, means it is still there in the things, and then a new kind of virus, which can call it a novel coronavirus, they come into the picture in on 31st December 2019 from the Wuhan, China. So WHO first got information on 31st December about the some kind of viral pneumonia like diseases, which normally infects infection into the nose, sinuses, and upper throat area. There are few different you can call it dates which is significant in our lifespan, because this is the one kind of experience we are having, COVID-19 experiences. We are not going to get any hopefully any other experiences, such type of experience. So few dates we need to remember. If you will see here, 11th is having a significant. We are having two 11th date. One is 11th February and second one is 11th March. On 11th February, WHO announced the new name for this coronavirus caused disease, that is COVID. It is coronavirus disease. That is because it has been first come into the picture in 19, so that's why it is 19. So that is 11th February. On 11th March, WHO has declared it pandemic situation. So these are the two important dates which we need to remember. Earlier also we had such type of viruses which causes similar type of diseases in the respiratory tract, either nose, sinuses or upper respiratory systems. Like they were called as MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndromes, or Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, SARS. And this COVID-19, which is caused by a virus, this is the SARS virus only, but it is having another name that is called as Severe Acute Respiratory Syndromes Coronavirus 2, or you can call it novel coronavirus. So this is a one kind of SARS only, but it is having not exactly SARS, it is the SARS-CoV-2. If you see on the world's map, roughly throughout the planet, this coronavirus has pandemically affected almost all the country. If you see the numbers, roughly 219 countries and territory has been affected by this coronavirus. And if you see the numbers, how many confirmed cases we are having, roughly 122 million people has been, that is the confirmed cases. And out of that one, 69 million has been recovered. And death is roughly 2.7 million death till now because throughout the world. This is the data which is regularly updated by Johns Hopkins Institute. It is the live data. So according to that data, in India, because world already we have seen it, if you see the India, we are by cases we are in the third position. Here we are having roughly 11.5 million confirmed cases we are having till now. And by death, if you see, we are on the fourth place. So here we are having 159,000 death has been caused till now because of corona in case of India. This SARS-CoV-2 worldwide numbers I am not going to tell you here, but if this portion is the important portion here, because if you see most of the country where situation is very drastically going down, there it is because of the community transmissions. Especially in India, till now we have not come to the community transfer, or it has not been accepted that we have community transfer. It is called as clusters of cases. But like USA, Brazil, you can go for Russia or France, they are having community transmissions. So their cases are going to increase very fast. This is again the data of the prevalence of the COVID in India. So you can see this is the first peak we are having. If you see, this is the cumulative data from the 2000. So this is the first peak we are having. That was roughly in the September 2020, and this is again peak is going up. So again, so we are having, this is, you can call it second wave we are having for the corona cases. This virus, if you are going to classify this virus, they are belonging to novovirales orders, and in this orders we are having many different family, but we are not interested in many other families. We are only talking about the coronaviridae, because coronavirus belongs to this coronaviridae family, and then subfamily will be coronaviridae. In this one we are having different type of viruses, alpha, beta, gamma and delta coronavirus, and all are coronavirus only. In this beta coronavirus, we are having different lineages. So these are the different classification schemes. But if you'll see, this is the classification scheme of this red circle is the classification scheme of the coronavirus, which is belonging to novovirales order, coronaviridae family, coronaviridae subfamily, beta virus. So this is one of the important, because many different coronavirus we are having, but we are having only beta. Or if you talk about like that one, only alpha and beta is going to cause human, means only humans will be infected by only alpha and beta. Other gamma is avian, because it is going to infect birds, and this delta is again not going to infect human. So only alpha and beta is going to infect humans. And in this alpha beta also we are having only B lineage, which is the SARS-CoV-2 or SARS virus. So based on the current databases, what we are having, genetic information we are having, all the human coronavirus, whatever coronavirus we are having which is going to infect humans, they are coming from the animal origins. So either they are coming from the bat, different birds, different other zoonosis origins. So this is the how they came. So if you see, it starts from the birds or some other bats, And then whatever solid line we are having, it is the confirmed origins, and whatever dotted line we are having, that is called as suspected. So from bat it might had gone to rat, but that is suspected only, but this is the confirmed cases. So when we are talking about in human, so because we are having only alpha and beta is going to cause human. So we have got from this portion. So this is the portions from where we have got it. If we'll come to the structural organization of the coronavirus, this structure of coronavirus, especially its name, corona normally represent a crown-like projections, and hence it's called as coronavirus. If you'll see its structure, which is visible here, its structure, it is looks like a crown because of the spike proteins which it is having on its surface. This coronavirus is having only one genetic material, and that is a single-stranded positive sense RNA. Single-stranded positive sense RNA. Some of the proteins associated with this RNA, which is inside here spring-like structures, that is called as nucleoprotein because it is associated with the nucleic acids. On its surface there are many proteins, and every protein is having different functions. But again, when we are talking about the vaccine productions, we are not interested in almost all the proteins. Most important protein is the spike protein S. They are having protein M, HE proteins, E proteins or S proteins. This S protein, which is a homotrimer, means 3 proteins combined together and give you a spike protein. Because this spike protein is having a significant role in the viral infection and the transmission. This spike protein normally binds with the host cells. In our lungs or small intestine, we are having a specific receptors where this spike protein binds, and then virus is going to transmit into the host cell inside the cells. So this is the spike protein which we are normally going to target for the viral vaccine productions, viral targeting. This is the genetic genes for this coronavirus. Roughly this genes is of 26 to 32 kilobase pair. You can see here 29. Roughly we are going to call it 26 to 32, which normally makes 22 to 29 different proteins. Maximum portion of this gene, which gives non-structural proteins. Non-structural proteins means they are normally different kind of enzymes which is responsible for transmission, then their DNA replication, RNA replication. For different enzymes they are going to give it. So as you can see here, it is proteases. Here also proteases, RNA dependent polymerase, nucleoproteins. So all these are enzymes. So these are non-structural proteins. And this is structural proteins. This structural proteins gives us different proteins, which just now we have seen it, spike protein S, E, M or nucleoprotein Ms. In this case, this spike protein S protein, this we are going to target, we are going to see it. So, or we are going to use this portion of the gene for different usage. Now, you might have heard about there are many variants of coronavirus came, like South African variant, European variant, then British variant, Brazilian variant. So especially UK variant, which is first one came into the picture, they have a variation, they have a roughly 27 mutations or 23 to 27 mutations, especially in this region. So there they have called mainly mutations will be there. And that mutations normally increase its what we call it transmission natures. So virus becomes more transmissible. Easily it is going to be transmitted from one host to the other host. How it is going to be transmitted? So it is normally we are going to call it is going to be transmitted through direct contact. Either once a infected person will have coronavirus SARS-CoV-2, it comes to the because of it is going to affect the respiratory systems. So from the respiratory systems it is coming, either person is going to, it will be in the droplet after the sneezing, or it will be falling on some of the surfaces. Whenever a person is going to touch this surface, this virus will be transferred to their host organs, and then whenever they will touch their eyes, nose, mouth, it will enter through the systems, and then they are going to cause different kind of abnormality. Now, what are the different signs and symptoms we can see for the coronavirus? So there are many signs and symptoms will be there. Means a different situation, different time span. WHO, CDC, and Indian government also have come into the light, and they have changed their signs and symptoms. So roughly we are having, initially we thought only 3 signs and symptoms were there. That is continuous fever. It is continuous, it is not intermittent like we are having in the in case of malaria we are having 24 hours, 48 hours or 72 hours intermittent fever. Here we don't have intermittent fever. Here we are having continuous fever, coughing and shortening of breath, because it is going to affect the alveolus or lungs. So that's why shortening of breath will be there. Later on, 9 other symptoms also has been included in this one. That is chillness, repeated shaking with chills, muscle pains, headache, sore throat, loss of taste and smell, congestion or running nose, nausea and vomiting, and diarrhea. So nowadays we are having these 12 symptoms for especially SARS-CoV-2 infections. So if a person is having any kind of situation like this one, they can go and contact doctor, they can go for different tests. Once this coronavirus enters into the host cells, how it is going to bind to the target cells. So this is this portion on the host cells, we are having ACE2 receptor. What is this ACE2 receptor? This is called as angiotensin converting enzymes 2. So this ACE2 is present on our host cells or human cell, you can call it. This is another protein which is a protease, serine protease. So these 2 proteins of host is normally responsible for the coronavirus infections. And this is the coronavirus. In this coronavirus we are having a spike protein which you are seeing here. This spike protein is having 2 fragments, S1 and S2. S1 normally directly contact with the host receptor. So ACE2 normally binds to the S1. As soon as this S1 binds to this ACE2 receptors, this protease walks, this is a protease which normally digests the proteins. It walks on this S protein and digests it here. So you can see here it will be digested. And as soon as it will be digested, proteins will be, this membrane is going to fuse with the host membrane. So first virus will bind it with the ACE2 receptors, then this protease walks on S proteins, cut it, especially S2 portions, and as soon as this will be, protein will be digested, virus will be associated with attached with the host cell membrane, and virus normally enters into the host cells. Here 2 amino acids are important. One amino acid is 394th position, that is glutamine, that is present on the S proteins, and here we are having lysine, that is another amino acid which is important. Now there are, I have told you there are many viruses which belong to the same family, like MERS, Middle East respiratory syndromes. They are belonging to the same family, but they have different receptors. They don't bind to this ACE2 receptors. They bind to the DPP4 receptor. What is DPP4? It is one of the target in case of diabetes, dipeptidyl peptidase 4. Similarly, if we are talking only about SARS and SARS-CoV-2, they bind to this ACE2 receptor. So this is the important receptor for us in this case. Once virus enters into our body, into the cells, it is going to remove their genetic materials. This genetic material is going to replicate, then assembly will be there. So this is the sequential events. So first virus binds to the receptor, then virus particle enters into the host cells, then RNA will come out, then RNA will be replicated, then assembly will be there, and new virus particle will form, and exocytosis will be there. If you will see all these steps, so theoretically we can target each of the steps. So we can make a drug or make a different kind of pharmaceutical agents which stops different places of this all these steps. So here we are having possible different targets, how we can target this coronavirus. Then we'll come to the pharmaceutical agents also. These are the theoretically possible targets. Exactly, we don't have many drugs, but these are the theoretically possible targets. First, confer immunity from the previous host. Like if we are having any previously who has got coronavirus and they have recovered from this coronavirus, we can take a blood sample, plasma from that person and inject into the person who has coronavirus. So because the already recovered person will have immunoglobulins, antibodies. Those antibodies we can transfer. This is called as plasma therapy. This already has worked in many places of in India. Then we can inhibit the replication process by using different kind of agents. So we have many agents for which works on the replication inhibitory processes. Then we can stop the viral entry into the host cells. If entry will be stopped, rest of all the process will be stopped automatically. Then we can change our immune system, so that immune system will easily recognize these virus particles. Then we can different kind of genetically engineering systems we can do. We can modify, you can use the genes, and you can use different targets. So on the basis of all these things, we are having, these are the possible treatments, like polyclonal antibodies we can use, that is covalescent plasma therapy, which already used. Antiviral agents we can use, different medicines. I will talk about some of the antiviral agents. Then we can use ARB ACE2. What is ARB2? This is called as angiotensin inhibitors, receptor blockers. This is angiotensin 2 receptor blockers, which normally we are using for high BP, in case of high BP and heart failure. This is angiotensin converting to inhibitors. Other than this one, we can have monoclonal therapy, stem therapy, we can have gene therapy, where we can use chimeric, this is an antigen receptor, especially T cells. So we are going to modify the T cells so that it will be able to recognize the virus particles. Then we are having COVID vaccines. So main things we are going to talk about, some of the antiviral pharmaceutical agents we will talk about, and we are going to talk about the vaccines. Here we can see, this is the same pictures. So we can target this attachment. So whatever you can see this picture, like this type of symbol, it means we are going to block this, we can stop this pathway. So attachment of virus can be neutralized. Entry of the virus particles can be stopped by using targeting this entry. This viral protease inhibitors can stop the protein synthesis and protein proteolysis, protein formations and their digestions. Then we can use virus RNA dependent RNA polymerase inhibitors can be used here. After that one, we can stop the assembly also and release also. So these are the different places where we can design different drugs. There are some medicines which is already available or in the different phases of clinical trials. Like you can see, for entry or the fusion virus, directly virus can be stopped by using some kind of interferon beta or A to alpha to B. Some kind of medicines we can use, like lopinavir, ritonavir. These are some of the medicines which can use for different targets, different places. Especially if you see the two important medicines which has been used, that is chloroquine and hydroxychloroquines. This chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine normally works, it has gone for it, and we have used tremendously this one also. So it works at two different sites on the virus, especially in the SARS-CoV-2 or SARS coronavirus. One at the virus entry, so it does not allow virus to enter into the host cells. And second, it is going to stop the release of the virus particles from into the cytoplasm, so that no replication process will be there. So entry and the virus particle release will be stopped because of this chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine. Along with that one, it also inhibits the pro-inflammatory cytokines. So no inflammations will be there, no immune systems will be activated. Another drug is called as remdesivir. This is the normal process where virus particle is going to be replicated and it is going to be new particles will form, it will be released. This remdesivir, which is an analog, nucleotide analogs, so this is going to associated when DNA RNA is going to replicate it and prematurely release the RNA. So RNA will not be replicated properly. So immature inactive RNA will going to form genetic material, and ultimately virus will not be have a proper genetic material, so virus will die. So these are the different medicines. This is another medicines which is nafamostat, which is also going to stop this protease. This protease we have talked later on earlier. This normally this protease works on S2 and cut it, and then virus particle is going to be associated. So this medicines normally stops the activity of this protease. So once this protease will be inactivated, it will not work on this S protein and virus entry will be stopped. So other than this one, there are many other proteins also in medicines also which is in the trials, in different phases of trials. Now we are going to talk about the COVID-19 vaccines. There are hundreds of COVID vaccines which is in the different phases of clinical trials. First, we should understand what is this vaccines, how this vaccine works. So normally vaccine means we are going to memorize our immune system that this is the picture of the virus or the pathogenic particles. So remember it, whenever such type of particles come to come in the contact to you, you can work on that one. This is the normal basic function of the vaccines. So here you can see there are many hundreds COVID-19 vaccines in development. They have some produced positive results in the different phases, clinical trials, some are still in the use. According to WHO, roughly 166 candidate vaccines were there which was in the preclinical evaluations. That is around the December 2020. And that time roughly 56 candidate was in the clinical evaluations, 14 in the phase 3 clinical trials. And nowadays we are having 8 or 9 different vaccines which we are using in different parts of the world. If you will see the general vaccine preparations, this is the normal for any kind of vaccine. So we are having different type of vaccines. Either we are going to use whole organism vaccines, means whatever bacteria particle will be there, either bacteria or virus, we are going to use whole organism, complete organism. Either in the killed wage, means killed organism, that we are already having some of the polio vaccines by using these techniques, whole cell pertussis vaccines for this one. Or we can going to attenuate it, means we are going to inactivate the virus, modify the virus so they will lose their pathogenicity. So on the basis of this one also we are having many vaccines in the market for different diseases. Then we are going to have subunit vaccines where different purified antigenic components from the organism, pathogenic organism we are going to use, either proteins, nucleic acid, carbohydrate, different other toxoids. So different things we are going to use. So these are subunit vaccines. Then we are having recombinant vaccines which we normally produces through genetic engineering by using genetic materials. Especially if you will talk about the COVID-19 vaccines, these are the 4 important strategies which is going to be used. Either it will be live attenuated, inactivated, subunit vaccines and RNA vaccines. Normally till now we don't have any DNA vaccines, we are having RNA vaccines. So we are going to talk about one by one. If you have any questions, you can stop me, you can ask me. The first vaccines we are going to talk about, that is the whole viral vaccines. This whole viral vaccines, I have already told you, we have 2 types. Either it will be inactivated or it will be complete virus which is attenuated. So normally we are going to inactivate a virus particles either by using heat, chemicals or different radiations. Whenever you are going to use heat, normally heat, by heating we are going to protein may be denatured, so that time vaccines may not be that much effective. So chemical treatment is the better way when we are going to inactivate a virus or a pathogenic particles. In case of virus like particles, we are going to create a artificial virus which looks like a virus but it is not exactly virus. It does not have any genetic material, so it cannot replicate, it cannot cause any kind of disease. These vaccines cannot cause any disease because they are inactivated or they don't have any genetic material, so they will not cause any kind of pathogenicity. When we are having in terms of coronavirus, these are the few companies who are working on this whole virus vaccines like Sinovac, Bharat Biotech and 2 from Sinopharm. Already we are having some of the vaccines by using this whole virus vaccine, that is whooping cough, rabies and hepatitis virus. One vaccine in the phase 3 clinical trials of virus-like particles, that is Medicago. I will give you, in the last I will give you which company is working on which type of vaccines and in which phase they are and what is their cost of that one. So what is the mechanism of how this inactivated vaccine is going to be generated or produced? First, the pathogenic organism will be selected, either it will be bacteria or virus. Then this pathogenic organism is going to be inactivated either by heat, chemicals or the radiations. Once it will be inactivated, this is going to be mixed with some kind of adjuvant or some kind of preservatives, and vaccines will be generated, vaccine will be produced. As soon as vaccine will be produced, it is going to be injected into the normally into the muscles. We are going to take vaccines because of the slow release we want. So intramuscular injections will be taken, and this is going to activate our immune system, either B cells or different T cells, and we will have a neutralizing antibodies produced in our body which will normally work. So this is second one is virus vectored vaccines. So there are few company or few vaccines which we are now using. That is based on the viral vector. In this case, we are going to use a harmless virus. Normally we are going to select such a virus which is from the different host. Like if I have to use a vaccine into the human, I will select similar type of virus from the horse, rhesus monkey, or from different organism. So the same virus from different species does not going to cause any kind of disease in our body. So that is the virus vector we are going to use it, and we are going to use them as a vector, as a vehicle. So this virus normally carries a genetic material into the host body. That genetic material is going to, this genetic material will produce a proteins, and that protein will be recognized by our body. So Covishield in India, which is produced from the Oxford and AstraZeneca, was the first approved virus vectored vaccines which we are using. Other vaccines which is based on the virus vectored vaccine is from Johnson & Johnson, Gamaleya Research Institute, and CanSino Biologics. So these are the different company who works on this virus vectored vaccines. The first time this virus vectored vaccines has been used for Ebola virus. Now, how this virus vector vaccine has been used for coronavirus? You can see here, this is the coronavirus, which is having a genetic material, and this is the structure of coronavirus. So what they have done it, they have taken the RNA, because the genetic material is RNA. So they have selected, removed this genetic material. They have taken only RNA from this one, which is responsible for spike proteins, and transfer this genetic material into a different virus from the different organism. In case of coronavirus, they have used the adenovirus from the rhesus macaca, from the chimpanzee, from the monkey. So the virus capsid covering vector they have used from the monkey, and this is having a genetic material from the human. So this virus is complete. Now this virus is going to be used as a vaccine. So once this virus is injected into the host body, it is going to activate our immune responses, because this RNA will produce the proteins, and the protein will be a foreign protein, and foreign protein normally activate your immune system. So you will have a immunity against that particular proteins. So here we have used the spike protein RNA. This virus vector proteins we have normally of two types. Either it will be replicative or non-replicative. Means it can replicate into the host cell, or it cannot replicate. If it is able to replicate, then you require in a small dose, because once it will enter into the host body, it can replicate and give you many copies. So you don't need in many higher dose. A small dose is sufficient. But when we are going to use non-replicative, we require in sufficient dose, so that because it is not going to replicate in our body. There are few companies already I have told you which works on this virus vectored vaccines, like Gamaleya, Johnson & Johnson, CanSino. They have used human adenovirus as a vector. But in India we have produced this Covishield, which is from the Oxford and AstraZeneca. They have used chimpanzee adenovirus as a vector.
Sorry, sir.
Yes, Mahesh sir.
Sorry, sir. Voice is breaking.
Maybe on upper floor someone is doing something.
Now it's fine.
Okay, thank you, sir. So this is the basic protocol how they have used for Oxford University have done it. They have taken a chimpanzee virus. They have removed all the nucleic acid material particles from this one, and they have taken coronavirus from there. They have taken only those genes which is responsible for a spike protein. So this gene RNA they have artificially synthesized into the lab, and then that genetic material has been inserted into this virus particles. So this is used as a vector, and here vector is going to carry a genetic material which is artificially synthesized RNA, similar to this spike protein gene. So this is not the natural RNA, it is artificially synthesized. We are going to call it a modified RNA. Now this is a vaccine. This vaccine is going to be injected to a person, and it will give a spike protein. A spike protein normally activates the immune system for the activity. So this is how viral vectored vaccine works. Then we can use some protein subunit vaccines also. Here we can use some of the proteins from the virus or bacteria or the yeast against whose you want to design a vaccines. Till now we don't have many vaccines for coronavirus in this category. So only 1 or 2 vaccines we are having, that is from the Novavax and Chinese Academy. They normally taking spike proteins directly, extract it, and then that spike protein will be used as a human immune system inducer. This is the another vaccines which we are having, that is the RNA vaccines. This is one of the most important vaccines. We are having the highest efficacy among all the vaccines till now available. And one thing you need to remember it, till now we didn't have any RNA vaccine for any diseases. So RNA based vaccine or messenger RNA based vaccines against coronavirus is the first approved RNA based vaccines against any disease. Here
the image is not visible.
Pardon?
The back image was not visible.
Image is not there, ma'am. Only slides are there.
Okay.
We will talk about the image also. So in case of RNA virus, most commonly we are going to use messenger RNA, and this messenger RNA normally gives us a protein. Probably everyone is knowing that central dogma we are having DNA gives us RNA, RNA gives us protein. So protein directly we are going to get from the messenger RNA, and that messenger RNA we are going to use here for vaccine productions. So we normally transfer this RNA into the hosts by using some techniques, by packed into some of the nanoparticles. Once this RNA will be transferred to the host will make a protein and they will give the immunity. It is similar to the virus vectored vaccines. Difference is, in case of virus vectored vaccines we have used virus particle as a vehicle. Here we are going to use lipid nanoparticle as a vector. So that is the basic difference, otherwise no other differences are there. Two RNA vaccines, RNA based vaccines we have, that is Pfizer BioNTech vaccines and Moderna, and roughly both have around 95% efficacy. This is one of the most efficacious vaccines we are having till now, and they are the first RNA vaccines for against any disease. Till now we didn't have any vaccines which is RNA based. Now how this RNA based vaccine is going to be produced? So here also they have synthesized, they have taken the RNA sequence from the virus, they have artificially make a RNA that is called as modified RNA into the labs, and that RNA will be transferred into a lipid nanoparticles. So this lipid nanoparticles is working as a vehicle compared to virus vectored vaccines. There virus particle was there, here lipid nanoparticle is a vector. Once this lipid nanoparticle encoded RNA artificially or synthesized modified RNA will be transferred into the host body, it works as a vaccines, and it will activate the protein synthesis into the host body. So they will produce virus spike protein here, because most of the cases, most of the vaccines are going to target S protein, that you remember. Almost all the vaccines is going to target the spike protein S. Normally other proteins, M protein the virus had, we are not targeting M protein, we are not targeting any HA protein, we are not targeting E protein, we are targeting only S protein, because directly that binds to the host cell. So this RNA vaccines, if you see, we are having two types of RNA vaccines. One is called as mRNA based vaccines, and second one is called as RNA vaccines. What is this mRNA? Normally this directly gives us the protein. And SA vaccine RNA, we are going to call it self-amplifying RNA. Again, self-amplifying, it is going to be replicate. So it is having a RNA a replicase enzyme, so it can replicate. So even if you are going to take in a small dose, it can replicate, it will multiply and give you sufficient amount. But this mRNA cannot replicate. So dosing, when we are talking about the dose, mRNA dose we have to take sufficient dose. This one we require in a small dose because it can replicate automatically. Whatever vaccine we are having, like Moderna, they are in the use, especially in the USA based. Pfizer BioNTech, this is also in the use. So these two vaccines, which is mRNA based vaccines, has been approved and we are using it. Some other saRNA based vaccines, that is still in the clinical trials only. It has not come into the market or not given to any person. Now we are going to talk about the Covaxin and Covishield, which in India we are going to use it. So especially whenever we are talking about the indigenous vaccines or vaccine production in India. India is called as the vaccine powerhouse. Roughly world's 60% vaccine is going to be produced by, we are having roughly 6 to 7 different pharmaceutical companies who makes vaccines, and they make roughly more than 60% vaccines of the throughout the world. So that's why India is the vaccine powerhouse. So we have two vaccines. One is Covaxin, which is produced by the Bharat Biotech, and second one is Covishield, which is produced by manufactured by Serum Institute of India. So one by one we are going to talk about some of the important properties of this one. So this Covaxin, which is completely first indigenous vaccines. Indigenous means it is designed, developed, produced, manufactured by Indian organizations only. So this is first indigenous vaccines. It was developed by Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech in association with ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, and National Institute of Virology. So three organizations joined together and developed it. Here they have used inactivated forms of virus. Means virus is inactivated, so they cannot replicate. So means virus particles which they have used in the Covaxins are non-replicative virus. They have gone for 3 different phases of clinical trials. Phase 1 clinical trials, they have used 375 individuals and given 2 doses of Covaxins. In phase 2 they have used roughly 380 people and again 2 doses. In phase 3 they have used around 26,000 of persons, and just on this 3rd March they have declared their phase 3 clinical trials results. There they have declared that it is roughly 81% efficacy is there in the case of Covaxins. Just in fast a little bit I will go with this different clinical trials. When they have done the preclinical trials, what they have done it on the 0 dose, they have divided their formulations into 4 different categories. So one is placebo groups, and other ones are 6 microgram, 3 microgram, and 6 microgram with different adjuvant. They have injected all these 4 different into different organisms first dose, and then on 28th dose. On 14th dose, and on 28th dose they have given a virus challenge, a virus entry into the host, and they have seen that this virus entry or the pathogenesis is going to be inhibited or not. How they have evaluated? They have gone for the different sequential days. They have taken the blood sample, gone for different kind of tests, either for virus RT-PCR or different other sample specifications. This is pre-clinical trials which they have completed in the chimpanzee. Then they have gone for phase 1 clinical trials for Covaxins. I have told you it was 375 people. They have divided into 4 different groups who are there. Placebo group 75 people, and other groups 100 people. They have given 2 doses, 0 dose on 14th dose, roughly 0.5 ml of vaccine, inactivated vaccines. And they have seen that this vaccines normally works through the T cells activations. So especially TH1. In T helper cells also we are having different categorization. So it works through TH1 mainly. So same thing has been yes.
Dr. Vijay here.
Yes, Vijay, sir.
Sir, we have taken 380 volunteer. This number is valid? Means it is sufficient number?
Normally, sir, in case of phase 1 and phase 2, they are taking a small number of people. But in phase 3, in phase 3 normally they are going to evaluate actual efficacy and toxicity. So there they have selected roughly taken 26,000 of people.
Because in this we have taken 380, suppose this for phase 2, 380 healthy volunteers.
375 in phase 1, 375 in phase 1 and 380 in phase 2.
So we will categorize them as per their age. So I think in particular age group they have a very little number. So will this give this efficacy data correctly?
This is not for efficacy. This is mainly for how they works. Do they give any kind of side effects or not side effects for that one? That I'm telling, actual efficacy came into the phase 3 clinical trials, where normally if on the basis of phase 1 and phase 2 they have not declared any kind of efficacious value, because
Right.
Before 3rd March, we were not knowing that Covaxin is how much efficacy it is having. Only on the 3rd March, when they have declared that phase 3 trial has given 81% efficacy, then we came to know that this is having 81% efficacy.
Okay, right, sir, right. Thank you, sir.
Fine. Thank you, sir. Then we are having second vaccine, that is called as Covishield, which is normally, it is not completely indigenous. It is manufactured in India, but it was developed by Oxford University and AstraZeneca. So this is, you can call it second indigenous vaccine because it is manufactured in India. It was developed by Oxford University and AstraZeneca and manufactured by Pune-based Serum Institute of India. In this case, they have Covaxin was the inactivated virus, and here they have used replication deficiency chimpanzee virus vector. So this vaccine is the viral vectored vaccines. Difference between these two, Covishield is viral vectored vaccines where they have used chimpanzee virus as a vehicle. In case of Covaxins, they have used inactivated complete virus. Here also they have gone for similar type of clinical trials, and both vaccines, either if you can go for Covishield or Covaxins, both are working through the same mechanism that is going to activate Th1 especially and some Th2. And in both the cases, either you can talk about Covishield and Covaxin, they have not given any kind of side effects. No pneumonia-like observations, no any side effects was there, except the common side effect which normally we are going to see in case of any vaccines, like tenderness at the injection site, swelling, pain, inflammation, all those things. Otherwise, no other abnormality was there. This is the phase 3 clinical trials for Covishield. In case of Covaxin, they have used for 26,000. Here they have used 1,600 samples. So sample size was very small in case of Covishield. And nowadays, probably you might have heard there are number of abnormality, number of side effects is coming in the Covishield vaccines. Especially it came into the picture in Denmark and Norway. There they have found two different kind of abnormality. One was deep vein thrombosis, where blood clot formation occurs into the veins. And second one is pulmonary embolism. Pulmonary embolism is when blood clot reaches to the lungs. Otherwise, this blood clot can go to heart also, it can go to brain also, it can go to any other place and cause a stroke, it can cause heart attack. But when it has been, same thing has been asked to WHO or AstraZeneca or Oxford University, they have told that whatever manufacturing unit we are having in India, that is Serum Institute. So Serum Institute generated manufactured vaccine does not have any kind of abnormality, any kind of drawbacks. So because of that one only, we have not received any kind of such type of blood clot formation from the India. Mainly it came from the Denmark and Norway and some cases in the UK. Because of that one, some of the roughly 13-14 countries had stopped the usage of this Covishield vaccines. Those countries are roughly Denmark, Norway, Germany, France, Italy, Thailand, Congo. All these 14-15 countries, they have stopped the usage of Covishield for temporary time being. And not only there, wherever this vaccine has been transferred, shipped, there also such type of situation came. So the abnormality is maybe from the plant or from the batch, whatever vaccine they have produced in the UK. In that vaccine we are having abnormality. But as such in Indian vaccines we don't have any such kind of abnormality. So this is, I was talking about the Covishield. In the case of Covishield, they have used 1,600 people. They were divided into two different groups. One 400 participants, another group of 1,200. And both group has gave the same type of result. The vaccine is going to walk through Th1 and Th2. Whenever you are going for vaccination, so normally if you have any of such type of symptoms, like if you are on regular medicines or any kind of illness will be there, any allergy will be there, either from vaccines or any vaccine components, or have continuous fever, bleeding disorder, or you are using some kind of blood thinner medicines. So in these cases, like pregnant women or breastfeeding women or any person who is going to have grafting and work on immunocompromised medicines, immunosuppressive medicines, these persons should be avoided taking vaccines. So in this case, first you have to tell all these things, any kind of situations you are having, to the vaccinator. They will decide you should be given vaccine or you should not be given vaccines. So if everything will occur, then you need to take 2 doses of vaccines, and it will be given into the deltoid muscle of the upper arm regions, roughly on 28 days time lapse, means 0 and 28 days. That is 4 weeks apart. We should get vaccination has to be done. There are many other vaccines. These are the 2 vaccines which we have developed in the India, and it is in the US. There are many other vaccines also is under the different phases of clinical trials. Like Zydus Cadila from the Ahmedabad, they are using making a vaccine that is called a Zycov DI, and that is in the clinical trials. Then Hyderabad-based vaccines, Biological E company, they are making along with some US-based company Dynavax and Bayer College of Medicines making another vaccines. Then we are having Pune-based Genova company. They are making HGCO19. This is third vaccines we are having. Second vaccines developed by Serum Institute other than Covishield along with Novavax company. And one most important in terms of vaccination, that is the nasal vaccines. Just a spray will give vaccinate people. So if this is in the clinical trials, just now ICMR has given them permission for the clinical trials, and that is developed by Bharat Biotech. If this will come to the clinical trials, if it will be successful, this will be one of the, we can call it one kind of first vaccines, nasal vaccines we are having for any disease. Till now, I don't think we are having any nasal vaccines for any disease. So that is one of the, you can call it milestone in the vaccination. So these are the 4 different vaccines according to ICMR press release. These are the 4 different vaccines which is in the different phases of clinical trials, like Zydus Cadila, Zycov DI, Sputnik, which is normally from the Russian vaccines. In India, they are in the clinical trials. Other than this one, Biological E, Hyderabad-based company, they are in the clinical trials, and Genova. These are the 4 other vaccines which is in the clinical trials. So this is all about the different vaccines which we have from the different places from the India. Now we should understand some basic thing about this. Some of the 2 other vaccines which is the most efficacious vaccines we are having, that is from the Moderna and the Pfizer, and both are mRNA based vaccines. If you will see these vaccines, Moderna vaccines, they have given a code name of mRNA-1273. This is the code name. This is developed by American organizations like Moderna company along with United States National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease with BARDA, that is Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. This vaccine is based on the mRNA, not exactly RNA, but it is a modified RNA. So they are called as mod RNA. So both Moderna and Pfizer works on mod RNA, and that will be encapsulated into the lipid nanoparticles. Similarly, Pfizer also, they have given a code name of BNT162b2. It is developed by BioNTech in cooperation with Pfizer, and here also they have used mRNA, that is modified RNA. What they have done it, they have taken this RNA from the virus, they have modified it, means artificially synthesized into the labs, and then they packed that virus RNA, artificially synthesized RNA, into the lipid capsules, lipid nanoparticles, and this will be used as a vaccines. Once this vaccine is going to be injected into a person's body, vaccines is going to either it will be directly deliver RNA into the host cells, or virus will be taken through the endocytosis will be there. So in any conditions, this RNA will be transferred to the host cells. This RNA is going to generate, because this RNA is for a spike protein, so it will generate a spike proteins. Originally I told you this spike protein is a homotrimer. So 3 spike proteins join together and make a spikes. This spike protein, because it is a foreign protein, so it will be digested in our cells by proteasomes, and that will be processed and presented on MHC1 or MHC2, depends on how this virus particles comes to our body. So ultimately it is going to activate our immune system. So both T cells and the B cells will be activated, and once B cells and T cells will be activated, we will have memory B cells, we will have memory T cells, and simultaneously we will have memory T cytotoxic T cells. So we have all the three types of activity, means immunizations techniques we will have. Important thing is, so Moderna and Pfizer has developed and designed vaccines. They are in the use, but after the clinical trials, once they have used all the clinical trials, they uses it. Then a second variant came for this virus. That is, so what they have done, Moderna has done it. These are the different data. No, means it is not that much significant data to remember it, but we can see this is roughly 95% efficacy has been given, 94.1% efficacy, especially in the case of Moderna vaccines. The important thing which we need to tell you that in January 2020, Moderna started vaccine development. They have modified their vaccines. Why they have modified their vaccines? Because once a new variant came, so slightly they have changed their vaccines compositions. So originally its vaccine was mRNA 1273. Now they have modified this vaccine mRNA 1273.351. So this is a modified mRNA they have used against the variant, especially South African variants and UK variants. They have used this one, and this vaccine is in the clinical trials. They have got the approval from the FDA and different organizations, and it is in the clinical trials. So this is the first vaccines which was developed for the new variants of the coronaviruses by any company. Whenever we are going to use these vaccines, normally we are going to have some kind of side effects. These side effects can be as a normal side effects which is common for almost all the vaccines. Injection site, pain at the injection site, swelling will be there, redness will be there, itching will be there, stiffness will be there, body pain, fever, malaise. These are the common symptoms associated with any of the vaccines. So similar type of situations, similar type of conditions are associated with these vaccines also. If you are going to compare all the vaccines till now, whatever we are having and we are using it, the efficacy rate comparison. So if you'll see here, Pfizer and Moderna, which both vaccines are mRNA based vaccines. So these mRNA based vaccine has almost highest efficacy rate, that is roughly 94 to 95%. Gamaleya, they have used virus vectored vaccines, and they are also shown that they have 92% efficacy rate. Whatever vaccine we are using in India, that is Covaxin, that is completely Indian vaccines, they have 81% efficacy rate. Just now on 3rd March they have declared it. And AstraZeneca, which is Covishield, which is developed by manufactured by Serum Institute, they have 74%, not exactly 70 to 74% efficacy rate. Johnson & Johnson, this is only one vaccine which is going to be taken in single dose. Rest all the vaccines you can have to take 2 dosage. Only Johnson & Johnson vaccine can be taken in single dose vaccine, and they are having 66% efficacy. And the lowest efficacy of this Chinese vaccine, that is CoronaVac, which is having only roughly 50% efficacy. So in Indian vaccines, whatever vaccines we are using, either Covishield or Covaxin, if we are going to decide on the basis of this efficacious rate, then Covaxin is the better vaccine because it is having the highest efficacy, 81% efficacy compared to the 64% of the AstraZeneca vaccines. But otherwise, in other terms, both vaccines have the similar type of mechanism. Both are going to work through T helper cells category 1. Now, whenever we are going to produce vaccines, we are going to generate vaccines. These vaccines need to be transported, need to be given to available for the more common peoples. So you need to store it also, you need to transport also. So whenever vaccines, we are talking about the economics of the vaccines, especially their transportation and storage is one of the major challenges. So in this case, you can see here, almost all the vaccines except this RNA vaccines which is generated by Pfizer and Moderna, they are normally going to require the storage at -20 and -70. Otherwise, all other vaccines, either it will be protein subunit vaccines, whole subunit vaccines and virus vectored vaccines, all can be stored at normal refrigerator temperature, that is 2 to 8 degrees centigrade. So these vaccines, except those RNA-based vaccines, these vaccines are very good in terms of using in the remote areas where we don't have cold chains, where we don't have very much efficient transportation machinery, we don't have storage capacity, or in the underdeveloped countries, because they don't have all those facilities. So this is good. First one is good in terms of efficacy also, but we require sophisticated system for their storage and the transportations. When we are so these are the vaccines and their cost. If we'll say we have Covishield, which is produced manufactured by Serum Institute of India, that is based on virus vectored vaccines. Its cost roughly 2.72 USD and 200 rupees Indian currency. Bharat Biotech Covaxins roughly cost 206 rupees, and that is inactivated virus. Pfizer and Moderna mRNA-based vaccines, it roughly cost more than 1,000. So whenever we are going to talk about the cost also, in terms of cost, in India, whatever vaccine we are available, that is the Covishield and Covaxin, that is one of the cheapest vaccines in the world. So you cannot expect more than cheaper than this one any vaccines. Now, whenever we are going to talk about the vaccines, their treatments, if once a person is going to be have any kind of coronavirus infections, so this is the roughly cost calculations. General cost for the general wards in case of a normal good hospitals, it will be roughly 4,000 per day. If you go for it can in kind of COVID situation, it has risen up to 11,000 per day. Roughly, normally we know that 14 days is the time frame by which we will be in the observations. So if you are going to calculate the cost expended during this 14 days, it cost only hospitalization cost 1,54,000. If person requires ICU or along, then 25,000 per day, ventilator plus ICU, it costs roughly 50,000 per day. So you can calculate 15 days multiply by this one. So roughly 7,50,000. This is only the cost of hospital and bed, not medicines, not any PPE kit, not anything else. So if we will include all those things, so the COVID, if someone is going to cost, it is a very costly disease, you can call it. But everyone don't require this ICU or ventilators. Only 2.6% people who have got COVID-19 infections, they require this ICU facilities. So it is not required for everyone. But according to government, they have some kind of roughly 7,500 hospitals we have in the Ayushman Bharat Yojana. So there we are having cheaper facilities available. RT-PCR rate also has been reduced. So government has done number of things in terms of cheaper vaccines available, treatment available, hospitalization facilities available. So government is doing a number of things in terms of treatments. But we should not have to come to that situations if we will take care of all other things. So these are the 6 different rules. If we will follow these rules, normally we will avoid this coronavirus infections. The first rule is avoid the close contact. So roughly we should have to maintain 1 to 2 meters of distance. Then rule number 2, avoid gathering at the public place or the crowd or any kind of community meetings, any kind of ceremony. Third things, avoid touching of your nose, normally open area, eyes, nose, mouth. So avoid touching. Wash your hand regularly after means minimum for 20 seconds and regular washing as much as you can. Use different kind of covering when you are sneezing or when you are coughing that times. And if you have any kind of sign and symptoms is going to be visible, whatever 12 sign and symptoms we have talked about, then you should need to contact with the nearest healthcare centers. So if you will maintain all the things, we will have a happy, healthy life. So I hope everyone will have a happy, healthy life. So this is all about from my side. So thank you very much.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Dr. Vijay here.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So there are lots of questions. Yeah, please, Vijay, Dr. Vijay, please.
Okay, yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to ask a question. Sir, you have talked about the symptoms of this COVID-19.
Yes.
Okay, but nowadays we have seen some asymptomatic patients.
Yeah.
So how we can deal with them?
Sir, normally, because many people, we don't know to whom we are surrounding or near the person who is near to me, they are having coronavirus or not coronavirus. Even many people have got coronavirus infections, and they might be treated, they might got cured. So if I will go for antibody treatment, antibody evaluations estimation for many people, they might have coronavirus antibody in their body. So whenever normally we have any kind of serious attacks, normally we should have symptoms. Whenever we are having asymptomatics, normally it will not be that much serious.
But sir, asymptomatic patients are also there. Means corona is there.
Obviously,
they are carrying the corona.
Yeah, they will be carrying, but for every disease-causing organisms, normally we require a sufficient amount of the virus particles so that it will cause the disease. That is called a threshold value.
Okay, it means we should not afraid of with these asymptomatic patients.
Obviously.
Okay. Achha, one more thing, sir. One question is also there. If a patient is taking ACE inhibitor, suppose in case of some cardio.
Asymptomatics, normally it will not be that much serious.
But sir, asymptomatic patients are also there. Means corona is there. They are carrying the corona.
Yeah, they will be carrying, but for every disease-causing organism, normally we require a sufficient amount of the virus particles so that it will cause the disease. That is called a threshold value.
Okay, it means we should not afraid of with these asymptomatic patients.
Obviously.
Okay. Achha, one more thing, sir. One question is also there. If a patient is taking ACE inhibitor, suppose in case of some cardio patients are there, they are normally taking ACE inhibitor. Okay.
Yes.
So, is it a possibility that they will not affected by this COVID-19?
I have shown one of the possible targets. There we have talked about some AC blockers and ACE2 inhibitors. So
yes,
that can be used.
Okay. No. I am asking if a patient is taking ACE inhibitor.
Yes.
So the chances of this COVID infection in that particular patient will be less, or there will be no chance to become infected?
Chances will be less, sir.
Okay. Chances will be less.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I think there are some questions. One is there which says, any information about side effects in next generation? There's a question by
Hello, sir.
No, sir.
I have one question.
In next generations. Till now, we don't have any information about how the vaccines will going to affect in case of pregnancy or in case of lactating women. So till now, we don't have any information about that one. So that's why when I have talked about what are the things you need to communicate to the vaccinator. So in case of pregnancy, now normally that should be informed to the vaccinator so that they will decide that vaccine should be given or vaccine should not be given.
Okay. Pankaj has a question. Pankaj Vadva, please ask your question.
Sir, I have one question. That is there any case reported that due to the COVID blood clotting can happen?
Yes, sir. I have talked about Covishield vaccines. There are few reports which came from the few different countries like Denmark, Norway. That they have two important diseases. They have called it. One kind of they have called it deep vein thrombosis. Their blood clot has been formed. And second one is when this blood clot reaches to the different systemic organs like liver, lungs, heart, and other places. It can cause pulmonary embolism. But it is not from the Indian vaccines. It is from the UK-based vaccines.
Okay, so which vaccine is better, Covaxin or Covishield or any other AstraZeneca? So if we will compare the potency or efficacy?
In terms of efficacy, we have only two vaccines in India available. So one is Covishield and Covaxin. So when we are talking about the efficacy, Covaxin is better because it is having 81% efficacy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I would like to ask one question.
I am having one question.
So Mahesh, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir. First of all, thank you very much for such a nice presentation. Sir, my question is that if one person has already affected from corona, means if some asymptomatic patient or mild symptoms, if he or she has infected from corona, then is it important or is it necessary for him to take the vaccine? And if it is yes, then why?
Can you repeat?
If one has already affected from the corona, so after some time, the antibodies have been developed in that person.
Yes.
So then it is necessary for him to take the vaccine.
See, coronavirus vaccine does not have very long. It means its half-life is not very long. Even if you are going to take vaccination, it will be maximum for 6 months to 1 year only. So every year you have to vaccinate yourself.
No, whether if, like, for example, like I have already, I have already infected with coronavirus, and then I have rest in isolation for some 17-20 days. So now, for me, is it important to take the vaccine?
Sir, we should take vaccine because its longevity is not too much. Once you are going to generate antibodies, it will have lifelong, means the half-life will be only 6 months to 1 year.
That is for the vaccinated. Means if natural antibodies have developed, then is it so that the half-life will be less?
Same thing, sir. Because antibody means every antibody is having some kind of half-life.
Okay. So for natural antibody also, we should have some half-life is there.
Natural or vaccination, just by vaccinating, we are mimicking our immune system. It is the same thing. We are activating our immune system, but we are mimicking it natural system.
So is it not like that? Like for example, polio vaccine we have taken once in life, 1, 2, or some 3, 4 times in life, and then we have
normally maybe what I am thinking, maybe because of the reason, because this virus is having RNA as a genetic material, and normally RNA-based viruses are going to get too much of mutations. Like swine flu, you might have seen it. Every year you have to vaccinate yourself.
Okay. Right.
Similarly, because virus is going to mutate themselves so much that one vaccine will not give you lifelong immunity.
Okay, right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sir, actually, I have been vaccinated with COVID shield. So I haven't got any much symptoms, although my symptoms were very mild, like fatigue. I felt like a little bit of fatigue. So my question is regarding my next dose is due after 28 days. So some of my friends who are professionals also, they were telling that till now there is not any proven fact that when you should get the second dose. So could you please add on that stuff, like when we should get the second dose?
After 28 days, sir.
Yeah, after 28 days. So this is fine because somebody was telling that it should be taken after 4 months. So
no, sir.
Okay. In context to this topic,
I have one question.
Sir, can I ask a question supplementing to what Mahesh is asking?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For example, one person has a first dose of Covishield. So is it advisable that the second dose can be from Covaxin or otherwise?
No, sir.
No, same
vaccine.
Okay.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes,
I have one question.
Yes.
Can I ask? Sir, suppose any child born with antibodies, suppose mother is injected, so in that child we need to give the vaccination or not? During
pregnancy,
during pregnancy, mother got the dose of vaccine. So that child need to vaccinate it or not? Because yesterday I read one news that in America, in Florida, one child born with COVID antibodies. So that child needs to vaccinate.
There are some antibodies like IgG can cross the placenta. So once a mother will have antibodies might have transferred to the child also.
So that child need to vaccinate it or not?
I don't have any idea, sir, because in India till now whatever vaccine is available, both the vaccines can be given, should be given only 12 years of plus age, and Covaxin will be 18 plus age, not for childs.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
We don't have any vaccine for small kids. Only 12 plus ages we are having.
Okay, sir.
Any other question, please? Yeah.
Sorry, I missed, sir, one thing. You was explaining like clots were seen in AstraZeneca only, not in our vaccine. I missed actually at that part. That why in Indian vaccine clots are not found? If you could please repeat that, please.
Sir, same thing. Means as I have heard about the press conference by WHO. They have told what they have told that it might be because of the batch, whatever batch they have produced that vaccines. There might be some kind of impurity or some kind of drawbacks. But AstraZeneca has declined it. There is nothing is wrong in the batch size. So batch was perfectly fine. It might be because of some other reason. Because sample size is very less. Only roughly 40-50 people have got such kind of disease, means abnormality, blood clotting in different country. So when you have given millions of people of vaccines and only 50 people have got some kind of abnormality, so that is significant, not aesthetically not significant also. And you don't know, they might have some kind of comorbidity or other kind of abnormality. So once everything will be analyzed, then only it can be fine.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions? We have still about 10 odd minutes before you will be mailed the link of the post-training evaluation questions. So you're it's a Google form again, so you can have that link, which will be mailed to you in about another 3 or 4 minutes. So you can ask questions, because I believe it's a very well researched presentation, Dr. Pranav. Honestly, I've been sitting through so many webinars, but on the same topic or a similar topic, but very well researched, and you've covered almost all the aspects, which are, of course, attached to it. And I guess that's the reason Dr. Monica personally vouched to have a seminar from you.
Actually, sir, I had for my YouTube channel, I have made a number of videos.
Okay, good.
On this vaccines. So, ma'am has seen those videos.
Very good, very good. So, if you would like to share those video links with us, we can forward it to our participants. We give them the resources. So, if you can mail us, just like you mail the post-training evaluation questions, you can mail us, so we can send them the links probably where they can find all these material at one place.
Sure, sir. Sure, I'll send it to you, sir.
Very good. Thank you. There is one more question. This is from Amar Sohail. He says, can you please explain the reason for mutation?
Because normally whenever we are studying DNA and RNA is more mutatable, because first RNA is single stranded. Second, RNA is having, if you see the ribose, the sugar, it is having hydroxyl group at second place, OH group. And normally oxygen is more reactive than the hydrogen only. And third thing is, RNA is having uracil, which does not have methyl group at the 5th position. So because of all these reasons, RNA is more mutatable. And this RNA polymerase also does not have proofreading capacity. So whatever mistake they are doing, they cannot correct it. So once a mistake has been done, it will be forwarded to the next generation. And once it will be forwarded to the next generation, it will have a different kind of proteins. So that is the reason of mutation.
So I guess that answers your question, Amar.
Sir, one question. Can I ask?
Yes,
sir, you compared all the vaccines. You compared all the vaccines in the term of efficacy. What about safety? You have any data regarding the safety so that you can compare all the vaccines?
Yes, sir. If you will see the whatever they have declared on their different press conferences by different vaccines, they have not talked about any adverse reactions like any pneumonia, like disease or any adverse reactions. So no adverse reactions have been found by any vaccines in case of any cases.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
As per their press conference.
As a layman, can we presume that the safety levels are within the permissible limits?
Because, sir, when we are talking about these vaccines, they are not using the live vectors, live viruses. They are either mRNA only, so it is not non-pathogenic. Either they have killed viruses, so it is also non-pathogenic. Or they have used chimpanzee virus, so it is not going to cause any disease in the human. So that's why efficacy, safety-wise also it is okay. It will not cause any kind of serious coronavirus or any other abnormality. Maybe if someone will be have kind of allergy with any kind of adjuvant or any other components of the vaccines, then it will be there. Otherwise, normally it will be safety will be fine.
Okay. So you talked about that people who are on blood thinners, they should
avoid it.
Avoid or tell that to the vaccinator.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have a case where one of my friends, he was operated for his open heart surgery at DMC.
Yes, sir.
And he is also on blood thinner. But he was one of the first people that the DMC people, when they started this vaccination, he was invited and he was vaccinated.
So
this is almost a month back, and he's perfectly fine as of now.
That it should be decided by the vaccinated doctor who is going to vaccinate you.
All right.
Okay, last question, sorry.
Yes, sir.
What do you suggest? Like my parents are on blood thinners, so I want to get them vaccinated. So which will be the better one, COVID Shield or Covaxin?
Sir, like I have suggested my parents to go for Covaxin.
Okay.
Because of its efficacy.
All right, sir. Thank you.
And especially they are from Bihar, so Bihar government has stopped Covishield usage. So that is another reason why I have suggested Covaxin.
Okay, that's good. So I need to convince someone, one of the residency doctors in one of the hospitals run by Harvard. They were suggesting that you should go for Covishield, not Covaxin, probably because of the clinical phase 3 trials, I believe.
It has been declared only on 3rd March, so that very late it came.
Okay. So now you can see that I've already pasted the test form link in the chat box, and it has also been mailed to you. So based on this wonderful interaction that we have and the presentation given by Dr. Pranav, there are certain questions which we would like you to recollect and answer this. And also request, please give the feedback on UMS, the link. Please remember, it's the same link that we use.